Do we still need God, even when we've made so many technological and intellectual advancements? Is it possible to find meaning in life in a meaningless world? How can we fill the voids in our lives? There's a saying that goes that the purpose of life is a life of purpose. Imagine being a student but not even knowing what you're studying. Or imagine working but having no idea what your job is. Imagine being alive but not knowing why you're living. You wake up every day and you go about your life, but have no idea why you're here, what you're supposed to do, or to what end. You're just here. See, the key thing missing in all of these scenarios is a sense of purpose. Because without purpose, we're nothing. Whatever we do essentially has no meaning. That's why as humans, we're intrinsically desirous of a purpose, because that's how we can actually make sense of our lives. It's pretty scary to think about living a life without any meaning, because as one American psychologist puts it, we'd be lost in a murk of chaotic existence. That's why meaning is a universal need. And for most people, it's the primary motivating factor in life. But finding meaning would entail that our lives are deliberate and that we're all working towards something. After all, it would be pretty futile to go through life just as an exercise without having accomplished or achieved anything by the end. But is it possible to find meaning in life in a meaningless world? Can our lives be deliberate in a universe that wasn't? Because according to some, the universe we live in wasn't deliberate at all and isn't the result of intelligent design. In fact, it came about by pure chance, which means so did we. And so there are people who will simply rely on the extraordinary intellectual and technological advancements that we've made and the scientific research which continues to uncover many of our world's mysteries. And they'll depend upon these things to live their lives and find meaning. With all this at our disposal already, many consider the conversation about God to be dead, completely obsolete. To them, it's simple. Do we still need God, even when we've made so many technological and intellectual advancements?
I think so. It plays a big part in our lives and how we should approach daily activities. I think that increasing our spiritual knowledge really gives you a great awareness of what's really important and what we should be doing with it.
Well, people still rely on God because instances where even doctors at hospitals have technologies to solve problems, but they still tell the patient that he should just pray to God, have faith in God.
Yeah, I mean, I think with science and with the ability to explain a lot of our world around us, we look less towards gods and we look more towards what humanity can discover.
If the scientists themselves at a point believed in the supreme being, someone is understudying their laws, their theories. Do you understand? What makes it a justification for you not to believe in God? The person that proposed the idea in the first place believes in some kind of a supreme being.
Of course, yeah, it'll always be relevant. In a lot of ways, sometimes with all the technical advancement, it kind of takes people's focus away sometimes, you know what I mean? You still need to pay attention to what's going around you, for instance.
Technology helps with function, but you need something deeper there. You need a reason to live, a reason to do things.
The real question is, are we truly satisfied? Sure, we've figured out ways to attain success and we've started producing technologies that almost have a mind of their own. But have we truly filled the voids in our lives? You see, the reality is that the rates of overall life satisfaction in North America are on the decline, which indicates that even with all the amazing strides that we've made in the world, we're still trying to fill the void of finding meaning. So if worldly advancements won't do it, how can we fill the voids in our lives?
I think we're getting to a point where, with all these advancements in science and technology, it's great for convenience and distractions, but it leads to this emptiness. And I am working in the mental health field, and I see that there's a lot of just this numbness that people are trying to fill this void. And I think having this higher power and this reason and this guidance, that's that's really what's missing. And as much as we evolve, as much as we learn about the world around us, we also have to understand that there's something that kind of allowed us to do that.
I realize we've been doing a whole lot of mistake, because when you see God has given us the knowledge to create all these technological advancements and other stuffs, do you think there will be a need not to include the person that gave us the knowledge to acquire all these things?
People do still care about God. Like me, for myself, yes, I do, definitely. No matter what they invent, no matter what man-made inventions there are, God invented us. God made us. Do you know what I mean? So if we take our focuses away from that, you're a bit further away from God, obviously. You know what I mean? So my point is just staying as natural as you can, no matter what they invent, staying neutral as you can, as natural as you can, in touch with yourself as you can, so you don't lose that connection with your nature, your spirit, and God.
I could remember that I prepared properly for examination. And I learned everything in the book, actually. I was well prepared. I got to the exam hall, and when I saw the questions, I was confused. The next thing I could do, all I could think of, was to ask for the Holy Spirit. And when I did, I lost control of myself. I started writing A to Z without even realizing what I wrote. You understand? And at the end of it, when the results came out, it came out perfectly. And when the teachers asked me how I did it, I was like, I didn't even know.
Some argue that if we accept the world to have come about by pure chance, then we'll also have to leave the determination of our purpose to chance and gamble our life away. Well, there are many others who are adamant that the only time anything has a clear purpose is when it's determined by the one who designs it. Which means that in trying to find true purpose, we'll have to accept that this world was also created with true purpose. Maybe the God conversation isn't dead after all. Why is it necessary to talk about God? See, the thing is, we don't really have a choice, not because someone's forcing us to believe in God, but because just like searching for meaning and purpose is intrinsic within all people, so too is the consideration for God's existence. It's no coincidence that throughout the course of human history, at some point or another, everyone has at least wondered about God. We can go as far back as the Zulus of South Africa, the indigenous people of West Africa, the Aborigines of Australia. They're the Eskimos of the Arctic, the Gonds and the Santals of India, the Taoists of China. All of them believed in the universe being regulated by a higher power. These days, prominent atheists like Dawkins, Harris, or Dennett have replaced that higher power with nature, and others might simply call it positive energy. But the reason this conversation is so universally unavoidable is because the God conversation is a part of human nature. You see, every single person is born with intrinsically pure qualities. No child is born a thief or a liar. It's only as they grow older that their inherent qualities are subdued by external forces. This is the case with all of our natural qualities and abilities to do good. Think of it as the voice of your conscience or the angel on your shoulder telling you to do the right thing, because, well, that's what you're meant to do. But ultimately, it depends on the circumstances influencing you that you might end up going against your own natural disposition of making the right decision. That's why it's so important to eliminate those negative influences in our lives that cause us to go against our pure nature. Islam teaches that along with the pure qualities that we're born with, another part of our inherent nature is an inclination towards God and His established faith. In other words, not only do we possess the inherent quality of considering God's existence, but we also have the inherent ability to recognize the signs that lead us to Him. But according to recent surveys, the vast majority of people who say that God doesn't play an important role in their lives are people from developed nations. The same nations who consider themselves to be advanced in morals, intellect, science, technology, and everything else. They consider themselves to be so self-subsisting that they don't need anything other than what they've created with their own hands. In other words, theists would say that worldliness has influenced their intrinsic nature of at least searching for God and His signs. For some people in the developed world, the purpose of life goes only so far as family, friends, work, wealth, and health, which, of course, all of these things are important. But if the last few years have taught us anything at all of these things can disappear in the blink of an eye. If that's the case, then how can we completely rely on them to find lasting purpose? Think of it like this. There's a captivating narration in the Holy Quran where the Prophet Abraham gave the example of people who worship stars. But when they saw the stars set, they realized they couldn't worship something that just disappears. Then they saw the moon's shining glow and they worshiped that. But then when the moon set, they realized they couldn't worship that either. Then they turned to the blazing brightness of the sun and began worshiping that. But when the sun set, they finally realized that there's no point in worshiping or relying on things that can disappear just like that. So they turned to God, who, as Abraham described to them, created all of these things and granted them a lasting purpose. These days, the stars have become the jobs we're chasing, the moon has become the dream house, and the sun has become that luxurious life we've always wanted. But the fact remains, everyone's racing to find purpose, whether it's God or things that have taken up a God-like status in their eyes. When we scroll on social media, it's made to seem to us like we have so much in this world, in this material world, that we couldn't possibly need anything more. We see people seemingly finding purpose through the proverbial stars, moon, and sun. But then when we took the streets of Africa, Europe, and North America and had real conversations with real people, we find that people genuinely think that even with all the advancements in the world, they can't give us that lasting purpose that God can. So we'll have to make a choice. Is our purpose in life going to depend on things that can set at the end of the day? Or will we look beyond just our sight and find purpose that can last forever?